Hello and welcome to episode 41 of Full Movie Podcast, a show where we talk about those long forgotten classics that deserve a rewatch. I'm Freya.
And I'm Matt.
How's it going, Matt?
It's okay. It's all right. I'm feeling a bit in the wars today, though.
Yeah, you've done something in your sleep, haven't you?
Yeah, not just have a dream. I've pulled a muscle or something like that.
Yeah.
But, it's all right.
All part of getting old.
Yeah.
No,
Yeah. What about you? Have you injured anything?
no, I'm fine.
Oh.
I'm groovy, thank you.
Well, that's a relief, isn't it?
Well, it is, although the only complaint I have really is I'm suffering from mask knee.
Mask knee.
Yes, it's this new thing where you get crappy skin because of wearing a mask. But,
Oh, no.
You know,
Yeah, I know what you mean. It's a bit of a nuisance, but, at the end of the day, it's a good thing.
there are worse things that you could get at the moment.
Stabbed.
Yes, exactly.
A firework to the eye.
A firework to the eye.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because we're coming up to, we've got Halloween coming, but then we've got bonfire night in the UK. And
that's
it's
true.
be careful, kids.
Protect your eyes.
Yeah.
Wear your goggles and your masks.
Yeah.
And don't play with conkers.
Conkers?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, I used to love playing with conkers.
I know.
That's not a euphemism.
Then they banned it.
Yeah, the bastards.
Anyway, what have we been watching?
So, we, because obviously it's coming up to Halloween, we watched a couple of Doozy films, shall we say. I said Doozy, not Disney.
Uh-huh.
So let's start off with, we watched The Exorcist 3 Legion, which is the director's cut of The Exorcist 3.
Yes.
That's the very first time I've ever seen that version. As anybody who listens to this will know that I'm somewhat of a fan of The Exorcist.
Oh, really?
Yes, I do like it. And yeah, we watched the third one, and if I'm completely honest, it's okay, but I don't like the ending. I think the ending in the cinematic version is better. But it's still noteworthy.
It was interesting to watch that version anyway.
Yes. Then we watched Kolobos.
Kolobos, yes.
Kolobos.
Yes, a sort of 90s horror film.
Yeah, late 90s horror film. Now, I'm going to flat out say this. One of my friends was saying how gory and horrible it was. I was like, all right, I've got to get this, So got to see what this is all about. Watched it. It's crap. It's a little bit gory, but it's nothing compared to some of the stuff that we've seen. I mean, Martyrs, Human Centipede 2, they're way gorier. But all I'm going to say is I strongly recommend nobody watches it. Just because it is utterly terrible, and not even in a good way.
Yeah.
There's no cheese factor. It is just terrible. The story, the acting, the special effects, everything is horrendous.
Yeah, I must agree.
Speaking about horrendous things, we also watched the remake of The Grudge, the one that was released this year.
Yeah, a film that didn't really need another remake. It was more of a reboot, I think. It wasn't a retelling of the same story. It's set in America, this one.
Which I don't really understand that. But.
It was pants. It seemed rushed. The story didn't make a whole lot of sense. It was all over the place. Yeah,
it just wasn't anything good. Although I will say I did quite like the ending to it.
Yeah.
I won't spoil it for anybody who wants to see it, but I will recommend that you don't see it.
Yeah, no, it was a bit pants.
Yeah. Then we watched a very underrated film. A lot of people say they don't like this film. And we watched, I think it's 2012, even though I thought it was way earlier than that. I thought it was like an early 2000s film. But no, it was released in 2012. And that's the Chernobyl Diaries, which I thoroughly enjoyed that. I think it's very tense. I think the cinematography and the scenery, the stage settings of it were brilliant. It's absolutely fantastic. I really, really liked that. Obviously, it's not an Oscar-winning film, but I still enjoyed it. It was good.
Yeah,
good.
Me too.
And then we also, you watched for the very first time.
First of all, I watched a film called Scare Me on Shudder. Which was very good. It was very different. If you have Shudder, I recommend that.
Scare Me.
It's got Aya Cash, who plays Stormfront in The Boys.
Ooh.
She's in it. She's very good. And yeah, it's definitely different. I recommend that. But I also watched for the first time Borat.
Oh, how did you find it?
It was good. Yeah,
Good.
It was silly and offensive, and cringy. Intentionally cringy. Obviously, it's meant to be cringy. But yes, obviously I watched that because we wanted to watch the sequel.
Yes, we watched sequel, which I'm sure a lot of people did. We watched Borat, the subsequent movie film, delivery of prestigious bribe to American regime for make benefit once glorious nation of Kazakhstan.
Indeed.
I'm sure I could have done that better.
That's fine. I mean, it's a long title.
Yeah, the title's longer than the film. So, that was okay. It was okay.
Yeah, it was fine. It was kind of, what you expect from
Borat, yeah.
From Borat. But
I mean, there's a lot. There should be just a trigger warning at the start of it for everything. But yeah,
definitely.
There are moments which were, oh god, that's giggly, but also, oh, don't do that. Stop it.
Yeah.
But also there were moments which were actually quite good, and also I found it quite sincere in parts as well.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah.
So let's go on some recommendations. Do you have any recommendations?
Well, just that Scare Me, really.
Scare Me. Okay,
yeah,
cool. Yeah. Do you know what? I didn't watch that, but I will give it a go.
Yeah, you should. It's great.
I strongly recommend on the next Netflix front, Session 9.
Oh, yes.
You like that film, don't you?
I do, yeah.
That is a film which a lot of people like.
Mm-hmm.
I do like it. I think it's a very tense film.
It is, yeah.
And it's got an interesting story. There isn't loads of spooks in it, but it's a little bit freaky in parts.
Yeah.
So, and then I also strongly recommend Creep. Now, this isn't the Creep which is set on the London Underground.
No.
This is the Creep with Mark Duplass, who he's in Safety Not Guaranteed. Brilliant, beautiful film that is. I love that film. And there's Creep 1, there's Creep 2. I didn't see if Creep 2 was still on there, but Creep is a very, very good film.
Yeah, it was really
enjoyed it.
Surprisingly good. I didn't really know anything about it when we watched it, but yeah, really, really enjoyed it.
Yes, it is. It's very cheaply done, but it is very effective. Very, very good. Strongly recommend it.
Yeah.
And yeah, also we watched another film which we're going to talk about today.
Yes. Oh, this is a good one. I'm excited to talk about it.
Yes, I'm looking forward to talk about this because this is our whole reason for doing this podcast. I have not seen this in a long time.
Why don't you tell them?
Right, for episode 41, we are doing 1990s, just good, tense horror film, Misery.
After a near-fatal car accident, author Paul Sheldon finds himself in the care of his rescuer and number one fan, Annie Wilkes.
Directed by Rob Reiner, which we've spoken about Rob Reiner in episode 1.
Yes.
I'm going to say the films that he's done just as a recap. He did This Is Spinal Tap, Stand By Me, The Princess Bride, When Harry Met Sally, love that film, A Few Good Men, and The Story of Us. It is based on the novel by Stephen King, obviously. This is our very first ever Stephen King podcast episode thingamajiggy that we're doing. Stephen King, of course, did The Shining, Carrie, Salem's Lot, It, Cujo, Cat's Eyes, The Mist, Stand By Me, Needful Things, Shawshank Redemption, The Green Mile, Gerald's Game, 1922, Pet Sematary, In the Tallgrass, Creepshow, Dead Zone, Doctor Sleep, and The Dark Tower. I strongly recommend everybody watches all of them, with the exception of Dark Tower, because that's crap. It was adapted by Stephen King's story by William Goldman. Now, William Goldman is, again, somebody else who's we've spoken about, as he did Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid, Papillion, Stepford Wives, All the President's Men, Marathon Man, Magic, Chaplin, Maverick, because I said Magic before, and he did Maverick. Hearts of Atlantis, which is another Stephen King adaptation, Dreamcatcher, which is another Stephen King adaptation, and The Princess Bride.
Hooray!
So how do we feel about this film?
It's excellent.
Okay, good.
Yeah, really, really tense, really unsettling, quite, you know, it makes you recoil in certain parts.
Do you have a certain part in mind?
There's, you know, certain things that are done to the author in the story that
okay.
we can talk about later.
We will probably definitely talk about that one later on. I think this is because the 90s, they were doing almost a rebirth of classic cinema films.
Right.
So you had like the great romantic films, like When Harry Met Sally. You had the big epic bombastic films such as like Jurassic Park and Terminator 2. Granted, it's not massively classic, but they were epic films. Even Titanic was done in like 1997. This is one of those films which was like a classic Hitchcock film.
Sure.
And you can feel the Hitchcock in it. The cinematography was done by Barry Sonnenfeld, who would later go on to direct Men in Black. That's absolutely true, he did. And there's a lot of Hitchcockian aspects of this film. It reminded me to quite an extent of Whatever Happened to Baby Jane. Because there's elements of that which are very similar. And I just think it's a good film. Really good film. It's a classic Hollywood film.
Yeah, it's a good story as well. And, you know, it's such a horrifying situation that Paul Sheldon finds himself in. You know, and there's a great kind of realisation when he kind of really realises that he's in danger. And there's nothing he can do, you know, and the kind of slow unfolding of the extent of her kind of like instability,
which
Annie
is
Wilkes.
very different to the book, I might add.
Yeah.
So just say that.
Well, I haven't read it.
Oh,
so.
right, okay.
We'll just talk about the film for now. Thank you. But yeah, so obviously he does kind of break out of the room that he's in at some, you know, at different points, and he kind of realises that she's obviously thought of that happening, and the phone doesn't have any actual inner workings. It's just like she is toying with him the whole time. It's like he's given hope, but she's already thought of kind of how to take that hope away from him. This is how I see it anyway. Okay. So, you know, the phone is within his reach, but it doesn't work.
See, the phone was the only thing which I kind of... That aspect of it being empty, that was the only thing which I was like, well, that's a bit pointless. Why would you put it on display? But you explain it like that.
That's how that's kind of how it seems to my mind. And
that was like the only weak link in the whole film. That was the only thing. But no, you explained that very well.
And she also, you know, she left that scrapbook out with all the articles about him disappearing and then about her life and her past with, you know, all the kind of malpractice stuff of when she was a nurse and being arrested and all this stuff. And she actually mentions it in one of the following scenes, like when she kind of says to him, oh, I know you've been out. And even there's a scene where they're having dinner together and he is saved up all the medication in an attempt to poison her and puts it in her wine, but she spills it. And my thinking is like, well, she knows, you know.
Interesting.
It's kind of very, you know, how often do you spill your drink? It doesn't happen really, does it? You spill your whole drink.
Well, you. Yeah.
I mean...
You. You. And me, actually, to be fair. I spill my drink quite a bit.
But, you know...
you can actually, in that scene, you can see the hope drain from James Caan's face.
But
body language just goes from to
Yeah, and there's a lot of that, and that's why I feel like it's coming from her. You know, I feel like it is her intentionally kind of messing with him. She's like 2 steps ahead of him.
That has changed my perspective of this actually quite a bit, because I didn't really think of it like that. I mean, it's not like a series of unfortunate events. That's kind of what I thought it was. You know, I thought, well, she did just spill her drink, or